Spirit Sports Consultants presents our weekly NFL picks.
Week 9 had some great matchups and great finishes. We hope to continue that with Week 10 games. We've got the Texans and the Lions. We've got the Chiefs and the Bucs, a few others. We're going to take a look at some Week 9 games here. First, we're going to start off with a battle for the NFC North. Lions at the Packers. Looked like a close matchup, but it was a terrible rainy day, and we didn't think Jordan Love was going to be 100%. He wasn't. He clearly couldn't move well. Lions dominated this game, and we don't have to read too much into that. Packers weren't healthy, but we like it for now. Lions 24-14. For our first Week 10 matchup, we got the Steelers at the Commanders, and two dominant teams this season. A lot of people are saying these teams aren't even the best in the division. People looking at the Ravens in the AFC North and the Eagles potentially in the NFC East. We don't think so. We think both these teams are legitimate, and this comes down to who do we like. We've been talking about Jaden Daniels all season. We've been a fan of his since the draft. Thought he was the best quarterback in the draft. Steelers, Mike Tomlin, that defense, what they've done, and Russell Wilson has given them that deep ball threat. Nice balance. George Pickens has looked great with Russell Wilson. We like the Steelers here. More Week 9 results. The Dolphins headed into Buffalo to face the Bills, where the Bills have owned that matchup. Tua had only beaten Buffalo once since he started, and it didn't get much better here with unbelievable plays like this for Josh Allen. The game was really close, but ultimately the Bills prevailed with a 61-yard field goal to end the game. Really a dramatic finish. Great win for the Bills. Curious if the Dolphins season is in fact over at this point. And things don't get any easier for the team from South Florida. They've got to face the Rams in L.A. with Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Puka Nacua. I don't think he should be suspended for a game after that quote-unquote punch in the Seattle game. He shouldn't probably have been kicked out for that. But we think the Rams are going to take this one 27-21. We're really curious about Mike McDaniel's coaching. We don't see the dynamic balance there with the running attack. We think it's really all about the athletes. Not good schemes there. We don't know if he'll last beyond this season, in our opinion. Anyway, for this one, we like the Rams 27-21. Falcons at the Saints. The biggest difference here is the Falcons are healthy, the Saints are not. That devastating injury the Saints suffered yesterday, Chris Olave looked like he was seriously hurt. Looked like he had a concussion, was discharged from the hospital. He should be okay, but very unlikely to play in this game, and that's their key receiving threat. And then if you watch the game yesterday like we did the Saints-Panthers, Derek Carr doesn't have that range of motion to throw the deep ball. That limits him. So he's probably about 75 to 80% of efficiency. So we're going to go with the healthy Falcons team here. Also, we look at the statistic this morning, the third best in the league, yards per attempt against the pass. Again, that's typically what the Saints like to do. It's a big benefit, big advantage for the Falcons in this one. We like them here 24-21 at New Orleans. Vikings at the Jaguars, and both these teams had awful first halves in their Week 9 game, and then great second halves. Jaguars almost pulled off a great upset, getting down 22-0 at Philadelphia, a team that's far better and more talented. And the Vikings had a little dud in their first half. They did not score a point and came back for a 21-13 victory. In this game, we think the Vikings have more offensive firepower. We love what they have at the receiver. We think Sam Darnold has resurrected his career here. We've never been that high on Trevor Lawrence. We think he's overrated. We think he's one of those guys. He's not a bust, but he's just going to be a mid-tier quarterback. So for this one, we like the Vikes 24-17 at Duval. And before we continue, if you would, just join our channel, and if you like this video or find it useful, like it and then subscribe. We provide weekly NFL picks, highlights, and sports travel. Thank you. Let's look at some more Week 9 games. We had the Raiders traveling to Cincinnati to face the Bengals, where Joey B and that offense has been very inconsistent. We know they have the talent, but they really struggle, only put up 17 against the Giants, only scored 14 offensive points. Against the Browns, they had a kickoff return touchdown. But in this game, the offense was back. They exploded. They took out their frustration on the Raiders, cruising to a fairly easy 41-24 victory over the team from Vegas. Bengals at the Ravens kick off Week 10 with their Thursday night matchup. If you saw the first matchup at Cincinnati, it was an unbelievable game. Ravens came back and won it, but wow, that could have gone either way. Our preferred side on that one was the actual totals, looking at the over, and we're going to stick with that position here. Everything's going to be an explosive, high-scoring game. You got Lamar in that running attack, then Joey B in that passing attack. I think ultimately the Ravens will win it, but pay attention to the line and look at that totals. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, like we said. We like the Ravens here 31-24 over the Bengals. Next up, we have our wagering tip of the week. We want to talk about win-loss records. We've seen it in our history that a lot of amateur bettors are enamored with win-loss records. It's like they go down the stands and look for that team and see that they're the favorite, they bet on them. Well, those records can be inflated. We all know that. Lucky wins, close wins, bad calls. We focus on points scored, points allowed, and then yardage statistics. We look at rush offense, rush defense, pass offense, pass defense. Compare the two, look for an edge. And this is the setup we have for the Week 9 game for the Texans going into New York to face the Jets. The 6-2 Texans appear on paper to be very impressive, going up against the Jets team, 2-6. Just got embarrassed at New England, really humbled, and by all accounts were trash. Some of our viewer comments called them as such. And really, if you look at the Jets, they're a good team playing like trash. There's a difference. Take a look at the standings. The Jets, look at that, 3-6 record, but they're only a minus 12-point differential. That's not really that bad. That should be more like a 500 team. Then take a look at the Texans, 6-2, right? 6-3 after this one, only a +1. That's not all that good. The Colts are +3, and they're 4-4. So we look at point differential when we do our formulas, not record. So we know the Vegas formula, and that came out the Jets 21-17 with the line being set at 3. That's a key number. A lot of people were complaining the Texans weren't favored here. Have to look at the formula, not the record. This is why we like the Jets here. We also took the under. Let's see how the game went. More Week 9 results with the Texans at the Jets on Thursday. We'd warned people before this game. We saw an under, and we also saw the Jets covering because we knew the Texans aren't as good as people think. That 6-2 record, they have 2 injured wide receivers. Their pass blocking is terrible. Their pass defense and overall defense is great. Jets had to make these unbelievable catches to kind of take over the game. Really, it was a back-and-forth affair. The score is a little bit one-sided, but it was closer than that. 21-13 for the Jets. We think the Jets are heading in the right direction. Outside shot, but might have a chance to wild card. Jets at the Cardinals, an interesting matchup here between one team who's definitely been underachieving, another team that's been overachieving in our opinion. Not too many people thought the Cardinals would be in first place or close at this point in the season. But the Jets, we heard some comments earlier that the Jets are trash, they're terrible. No, the Jets have been playing like trash, but they've got the talent to at least be a wild card team. We think their upswing continues after their win over the Texans. We see them taking it here 24-17. We think this mini bye coming off a Thursday game, having 10 days off, is going to really help them kind of rest up and get ready for the second half of the season. And some more Week 9 game results with the Bears at the Cardinals. Totally underrated the Cardinals this season. We kind of get it. They won dramatically at Miami. Now with this one, taking it to the Bears, really was a one-sided game. The Bears, maybe it was the fact that it was back-to-back road games. Maybe they were deflated after that tough Hail Mary loss at Washington. We thought they'd bounce back. They didn't. Cardinals 29-9 over the Bears. Patriots at the Bears in a rematch of that famous Super Bowl with William the Refrigerator Perry and Mike Ditka. This is somewhat of a mismatch. I think the Bears, despite a couple of tight losses, have the offensive and defensive strength. Patriots struggling on offense. The defense is pretty good. In this game, we have to lean
the Bears. The Bears.
We like the Bears in this one, 24-14 over the Patriots at home in Soldier Field. Bills at the Colts. The Colts come off that tough Sunday Night Football defeat at Minnesota, and the Bills off that dramatic victory, 61-yard field goal to handle the Dolphins at home. Looking at the Bills this season, we really think they're one of the top 3 teams in the AFC. We had the Texans there previously, but they're kind of struggling with their injuries and their weak offensive line play. The Colts, we expected more when they switched to Joe Flacco. Didn't really see it against the Vikings. Maybe he will bounce back. We think this game will be close. Ultimately, we're going to lean towards the Buffalo Bills in this one, 24-21 over the Colts. And some more Week 9 results. The Broncos at 5-3, going to Baltimore to face the 5-3 Ravens again. What did we say earlier about win-loss records? They can be deceptive. These teams were nowhere near even. The Ravens took it to the Broncos from start to finish, really dominant with the running attack. Lamar passing 41-10. We thought it'd be a lot closer than that, but the Ravens proven they were one of the top 2 teams in the AFC, if not the league. Broncos at the Chiefs, and the Broncos' chance to redeem themselves after a dismal performance at Baltimore. And typically they do against their AFC West rival. They tend to play the Chiefs fairly close, even in seasons when they have really bad teams. This year with that defense being so improved, we think that's going to be able to slow down the Chiefs. But again, the Chiefs' defense is truly their strong suit. So we look at this one, we're going to lean under here. We don't know the totals numbers quite yet. 21-17 Chiefs. Take a look at that totals play and go for the under. And some more Week 9 games. We have the Bolts going into Cleveland to face the Browns. The Browns coming off that dramatic victory over the Ravens, and the Bolts coming off a win over New Orleans. Really was all L.A. here. 27-10 over the Browns. We saw flashes of the old Justin Herbert offense. I think the Bolts are definitely on the upswing. Clear contender for an AFC wildcard. And we think the Bolts will continue their charge for a wild card as they host the Titans. Titans with that win in overtime over the Patriots. Kind of a dramatic victory. They had the lead. They somehow let the Patriots come back and tie it. And the Chargers really, again, we talked about it. They had that one-sided win over the Browns. We think that the Chargers are a threat for the wild card, not probably a threat for the AFC West. The Chiefs pretty much have that locked up. We think the Chargers will continue to get better as they go with the Jim Harbaugh defense and that combination, that balanced offense. You got Dobbins, and then you've got Justin Herbert throwing it. We like him here at 21-14 over the Titans. And next up, we have the 49ers at the Bucs, and this could have been a really marquee matchup if both teams were fully healthy. 49ers still missing McCaffrey. Ayuk's out for the season. A couple other players on defense out. Buccaneers, of course, are two primary receiving threats. Mike Evans is out. Chris Godwin's gone for the season. But this is one of those games. This is our upset play of the week. We just think this is one of those games that Baker just has an extraordinary game, surprises everybody. They win narrowly 24-21. And more Week 9 game results. Could Jaden Daniels continue that magic after that wild Hail Mary finish against the Bears? We thought there might be a bit of a letdown here. That typically happens after an emotional victory. But Jaden Daniels in that offense just could not be contained. Had a bit of a challenge there at the end by the Giants, but this was really Commanders from start to finish. 27-22 over the Giants, and we see the Commanders really in charge of that division. Look out for the matchup with the Eagles. That could be interesting to see who comes out ahead later this year. And sticking with those Eagles, they travel to Arlington to face the Cowboys. Eagles now on a 3-game winning streak. Cowboys really struggling that game against Atlanta. They didn't seem to have anything going on offensively. Totally appeared to be lost. A lot of people thought there was going to be a high scoring over in that one. We didn't see it with the Cowboys offense, which brings us to the question that we're going to pose this as a text poll. Which NFL head coach is the most likely, most deserving to be fired at this point in the season? We think Mike McCarthy is at the top of that list. Cowboys fans, see what you think. Hit us up in the comments. Let us know your opinion. Is he the one to blame, or are the players to blame? It's easy to blame the coach. In this case, we think McCarthy is struggling. We think also on the other side, the Eagles made some questionable coaching calls too, going for 2 all the time. They should have just manhandled the Jaguars, somehow only beat them by 5. Yeah, a little bit of a grudge here with someone who bet on the Eagles. But we like them here 28-17 over the Cowboys. Giants at the Panthers, these two teams planning for next season. Great defense. We really think the defense on both sides are above average. The Giants are phenomenal. That front seven, really unreal. We think with a mediocre to average offense, they'd probably be challenging for a wild card right now. And with that, we like them here 17-14 at Carolina. Carolina with that great victory. Congrats to Bryce Young for that victory over the Saints in Week 9. We think the Giants are going to have a little bit more on offense just to sneak by the Panthers 17-14. Next, we have our premier matchup of the week. The Lions travel to Houston to face the Texans on Sunday Night Football. And when we look at these two teams coming into the season, we thought this would be a very evenly matched kind of a game. But we look at the Lions, and there's a matchup in this game we really like. The Lions' defensive line and that pass rush they put on, and the Texans' struggling offensive line. C.J. Stroud has been under pressure all season. They need to really change the offense to kind of roll him out a little bit more. But as it stands, I think that's a big advantage for the Lions going into this game. Putting pressure on C.J. Stroud, forcing errant throws. He's normally very accurate, but with all that pressure, we're not sure. So for this game, we really like the Lions, 24-17. Current early line that we saw this morning is Lions minus 2.5. That's a great line. It'll probably move up to 3.5. Get it now.
That's all for this week. Thanks for watching our video, and good luck with all of your plays this week. Once again, this is copyright Spirit Sports Consultants.